This is Aston Martin's latest flagship, the Aston Martin Vanquish. Yes, the Vanquish is back, and Aston Martin made sure it is the best one they've ever made, and it looks absolutely stunning in person. The Vanquish nameplate has been around for more than 2 decades. The name seems to just come and go, with DBS coming along in between. In fact, this is only the 3rd time the Vanquish name is being used. But yet, there's this reputation that Vanquish carries as the V12 powered flagship with serious firepower. This 3rd generation Vanquish is no different. It is the most powerful series production Aston Martin. 835 horsepower and 1000 Nm of torque. Mind-boggling figures from this new 5.2-litre twin-turbo V12 engine. The previous DBS 770 Ultimate that this replaces only managed 770 horsepower and 900 Nm of torque. So this is quite a big jump from before. This latest Vanquish is built on a new dedicated longer wheelbase platform. It is wider in terms of track width. It is also the longest, 135mm longer than the DBS. The wheelbase itself is 80mm longer. Its chassis is built from bonded aluminium and the panels are all carbon fiber. It weighs only 1,774 kilograms dry weight. The grille is the largest by far, 13% more airflow as compared to the one on the DBS. This car does require a lot of air to cool down that now very powerful engine under this beautifully sculpted hood. Just check out all these dramatic curves all around. These here are F1 inspired thermos louvers. It is to relieve pressure in the engine bay and also to reduce drag. Now if you look down there, a huge carbon fiber splitter to complete this whole menacing yet very classy look. And if you look closely into the headlights, there are these LED light blades, and that looks very nice. As you walk along the sides, which will take a while because it's a long walk, the wheels are 21-inch and the tyres are now upsized as compared to before. There are 275/35/21 at the front and 325/30/21 at the rear. These are Pirelli P0 tyres specially made for Aston Martin, and it comes with noise cancelling feature. That's pretty cool. Take a peek inside. Well, you can't miss it anyway. There are serious stopping power. 410mm diameter carbon ceramics, which comes as standard by the way, with 6-pot calipers. As for the rear, 360mm and 4-pot calipers. Now, as you walk from the center of the front wheels to the start of the A-pillar, that's where that extra 80mm of wheelbase is. Because what Aston Martin wanted to achieve is to have that long hood effect, which at the end of the day, have a very imposing stance for a GT car. And I think they've done it because looking from the side, it looks stunning. It flows so smoothly all the way to the back with the huge haunches at the rear, without those outrageous vents and outlets. Except for these side strakes on the side here, looks pretty classy. Now the side mirrors are borderless, and with that they can have it narrower and not bulging up too much on the sides. It gets a bit more interesting back here. This unique design element gives the car that signature look. It does look like it's floating with the Aston Martin name spelled out here. I'm not sure about you guys, but doesn't it look a bit like a Zagato? Not in a bad way, because it looks very good. You can have this in body color too, by the way. Speaking of customization, the all-new Vanquish has the widest range of hue personalization of any Aston Martin. So if you're getting one of these, there's a lot you can do to make it truly bespoke. Now on the sides, you get these light blades that comes from the Valkyrie. This camtail or ducktail looks really aggressive from certain angle. I really like that. Down there is a huge diffuser to eject hot air from the bottom of the car and also to improve high-speed stability. Now if you look closely, there are slits and openings everywhere to cool down the exhaust. With all these aero bits coming together, the car generates up to 63 kilograms of downforce at 250 kilometers per hour. And I'm not sure if you realize, the car doesn't come with a Vanquish badge, just like the one before. So apparently it is not luxurious to have a model name on the car. Now on the inside, it is pretty much brand new in terms of design, and it feels luxurious and very well built, if you know what I mean. One of the key highlights in here is the massive panoramic glass roof that comes as standard, which is a first in the Vanquish. But if you are not into natural lighting and heat, you can opt for a full carbon fiber roof, which also lowers the center of gravity. It is heavily tinted with only 6% of light coming through, but from our experience, it can get quite hot in here under the strong Mediterranean sun. Another thing worth pointing out is these are actual buttons and not touch-sensitive panels. Same goes to the steering wheel. You only get all the things that you need and not too overwhelmed by all sort of functions and features. As for the screen in front of the driver, it is fully digital, 10.25 inch, but I do hope they bring back that iconic analog dials though. Maybe semi-analog? I would love to see that. Now, these ornaments on the dashboard in front of you, these are actually part of the 15-speaker Bowers & Wilkins audio system. It looks really good. In the middle, same 10.25-inch screen. It looks very sharp, very nice, and it runs on an in-house built operating system. It supports Android Auto and also wireless Apple CarPlay. As you move along, I really like this engine start button. It looks really nice and feels really good as well. It also works as a rotary dial for you to choose your drive modes. As you look around the back, you see this carbon fiber brace that runs across the cabin. That is to increase stability of the car. Now, you also see slots for your toddlers. No, not really. So these are compartments for your bespoke Aston Martin luggage bags, if you were to option in. So I am now in this sunny and beautiful island called Sardinia in the Mediterranean, and what a backdrop for this all-new Vanquish. So the Vanquish is essentially a front-engine, rear-wheel drive machine, so it is a grand tourer by nature. So, which also means it is quite large and wide for you to maneuver, especially in this Italian setup. But if you were to put it on the track, I'm pretty sure it will just perform as you demand it, because a lot has been done to the car. So Aston Martin is really serious about this Vanquish, because the new 5.2-litre V12 twin-turbo engine paired with the 8-speed automatic ZF gearbox makes a whopping 835 horsepower and 1k Nm of torque. That's much more than its closest rival from Maranello. But granted, this one is heavily turbocharged, and it gets you from 0 to 100 in just 3.3 seconds. This new V12 engine generates the most horsepower out of each litre of capacity with 160 horsepower per litre. The Valkyrie, only 156 horsepower per litre. And with such power, structure rigidity can be a concern. The chassis is made of bonded aluminium just like its other siblings, and the underbody is strengthened with an increase of 75% lateral stiffness compared to the last DBS. The mounting points are also stronger for the Bilstein DTX shock absorbers. They are said to be very good at separating body control from wheel control. It is super composed, and I'm pretty sure if you were to drive it a lot more enthusiastically, in a safe environment of course, you will feel the difference. Does it come with rear-wheel steering? No, but it is equipped with an e-diff, a first for a series production V12 Aston. With this electronically controlled diff, it can go fully open in just 135 milliseconds. So together with the ESP, it can react quickly to give a more rotational response in tight corners. This is their way of shortening the car, making it more agile. So this Vanquish has got a trick up its sleeve. It's called Boost Reserve. As the name suggests, it reserves boost when you need it. Here's how it works. The turbo builds extra turbo boost even with a moderately pressed pedal. The throttle flap controls how much air goes into the engine and hold on to the reserves. When you need the power through harder acceleration, the stored up boost is instantly released, giving you an immediate response. By layman term, it means there's no turbo lag. Theoretically. Why don't you just test it out? It does feel pretty immediate when you put your foot down. So yeah, it works. So there are a few driving modes that comes with it. There's the wet individual, GT mode, which is the normal mode, Sport and Sport Plus. It is very interesting to see how the car changes its characteristic quite drastically. So on GT mode, it gives you that very calming and relaxing effect, because the car sort of limits the torque output in the first 4 gears. So as you switch it up to sport mode, you feel a bit of urgency and it sounds better as well. When you put it on Sport Plus, that's when the car turns aggressive. It turns into a different car altogether. The throttle sharpens up together with the soundtrack. Everything feels all tightened up and ready to go. And please remember, you do have 835 horsepower and 1,000 Newton meters of torque, so that's a lot of responsibility. So when you're done being silly with it, you can go on to GT mode again, be your normal self. The really interesting mode here, which I found out, is wet mode. It feels like the car goes on EV mode. You hardly hear the engine, you don't feel vibration through the pedals. This is really interesting. Well, also because the car can produce so much torque, and if it is raining, you really need to rely on this wet mode. With that amount of torque at your disposal, you can go quite silly without you realizing. It comes pretty instant and can be overwhelming, but it is so controllable. The steering responds well and very accurate to every input, which then gives you the confidence to push the car even more. And it sounds glorious. I like the bassy growl at low speed and the light burbles every now and then. It can sound quite subdued because the cabin is so well insulated. It sounds the best from 4,000 RPM onwards at 3rd gear. Can definitely hear that. We do live in a very interesting times, don't you think? While electrification is happening all over the world, and there are still car makers like Aston Martin trying very hard to keep their V12 engines alive and roaring. And we get to see it. I get to drive it. And I get to be Bond, James Bond today, strolling down the streets of an Italian island, watching the Mediterranean sun setting. And I do look forward to my martini by the beach. Maybe I should get them to tarik my martini so that it gives it a bit of a Malaysian flavour. Martini, please. Tarik, not still.